Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. And I've mentioned this topic a couple of times already in my previous videos, but I highly suggest to implement branch policies on your repositories and to protect your default branch. Why? Just a quick theory, maybe, that it is really important to be able to prove that your main branch is not tinkered without anyone's approval first, because most likely you would want to have in your CI/CD pipeline that all of the changes to main branch would be propagated to your production environment as soon as possible. So, because of that, it is really important that your main branch is not just updated willy-nilly, and instead there are some protections and rules in place. And basically, you can rephrase what I just said as a DevOps people. You are very interested in the process of making developers like life a little bit harder just for the sake of making the whole process a little bit more stable and secure. So, because of that, today I finally wanted to show you how to implement some basic policies to protect your main branch, and we are going to use Azure DevOps today for because I wanted so, but also we will have a quick look at GitHub Actions on top of that and GitHub as well. All right, and without further ado, let's jump into screen. And here you can see that I created a policy showcase repository in my test Azure DevOps project. And to make things a little bit easier, I created a second user as well. So I will show you a little bit of a ping pong game, how it can look like. So right now what I have, let me find users. I created my second user, so I have pizza selector, which is my current one, and I also have a pizza selector second, which would be open in a incognito mode over here. This is one, and I have changes over here. What I want to show you right now is that I have this policy showcase repository, and I already checked it out over here, and I have some changes. So let me clear the screen over here, maybe zoom in a little bit just so it is easier to read. And let's say that I want to update this project with some very important changes, and let's make some changes here. So we add it over here, and we can use Git as usual. Let's add everything and let's commit with a message, important changes, and everything is committed, everything is good. And we can git push, and that will actually push straight into the main branch. And that's what I wanted to prevent, because right now I can refresh and I can see that I have done some important changes over here. And yeah, it could be potentially a breaking change. It could be if I was unresponsible, not trustworthy developer. So, for example, I'm just a junior developer. I could have done some changes, and so that I covered all of the bases. And actually, I might introduce a defect that could be easily spotted on the fly by a more experienced person, or just my tests are not good enough, and I've made some logic change but haven't implemented the unit test to actually verify that everything is good, and potentially that can break production. So, how to prevent this from happening? In Azure DevOps, it's actually very easy, and we need to go to the repository, to the project, and then in the project settings over here, we can go to repositories. And it is possible to set up policy as a blank for all of the default branch policies, and that will look exactly the same. But if we want to protect only a single repository that way, that is possible as well. So I will do that for now. And we can click on the policy showcase. And under the policies, once again, we can implement some of those repository policies. But what we are interested in is that we want to protect our default branch, the main branch. And over here, we can say that we actually require a minimum number of reviewers. and that can be anything because I'm playing with just my other account. I will put it as 1, and let's prohibit the most recent pusher from approving their own changes. What it means is that I myself is not allowed to approve my own changes, and if I am working together with someone, then someone else needs to approve my changes before their pull request can be merged into the main branch. And another thing that I really suggest you to enable is to check for the comment resolution. So if you are doing a pull request review, you might say that actually the person who is doing the pull request, who is working on it, actually need to change the styling, proofread some typos or stuff like that. And before the comment is resolved, the pull request cannot be merged. So those two are the very minimums that I would recommend to enable. And also, it would be really good to have a build validation. So basically, on each of the commits for the pull request opened, it should start the build pipeline and run all of the tests. Because in my test project, I don't have any pipelines, I am not enabling this step, but I would highly suggest you to enable this part as well. But let's see what will happen now with that policy in place. And by the way, Azure DevOps saves all of those policies on the fly, so as soon as I click something, it will be implemented and already available. Okay, now with that, I'm still on main, and now I pushed it, so it's at the top of the iceberg. And let's make some breaking changes over here. Let's save it, and as usual, git add, git commit, and let's try to git push. Let's see what will happen. And here we see that the remote is actually rejected this change because pushes to this branch are not permitted. And that's actually very good. That's exactly what we wanted to have. Because of that, let's create a new branch. Git branch. And I prefer, I think I mentioned that before as well, that I really like to call my branches, and it is easier to understand with some sort of prefix. So it's like a folder. So in this case, if it's a work on a feature, then you can call it a feature, and then probably if you have Jira, to have a idea of the Jira ticket that you are working on, or just a short description of what you are doing. README work. And we can check it out. Let's copy this because I don't want to type. And now with this, I cannot remember if yeah, everything is already there. Git push. And of course, because I haven't set my Git completely, let's set that to the upstream. Would be the same name. And yeah, with this, we actually can push easily to any other branch that is not a default one. And if we will go back to here, we can refresh the page and we can see that the main is actually as it was. And let's say make changes over here and nothing more. But we could change to the README work branch, and we should be able to see that there are some breaking changes. And how to make this change into the main branch? Very easy. You need to create a pull request, and that's what we wanted to us to enforce. README work description breaking changes. All of that stuff, it's not really required. You can set up who will be the default reviews, but I haven't done so, and it is possible to assign it in advance to someone, but it is really up to the change from the process from your organization. And as you can see, at the moment, I cannot complete this pull request at all. If we would go back to our policies, we can actually remove all of that. And as I said, the changes would be saved immediately. And if we would refresh this page, actually that button changes to complete. So it thinks, and actually it is, without a policy, we can just complete this pull request because no one actually needs to approve it. So let's revert it back to 1, and that would be my default scenario. And let's not check this out first. Let's go back to the it's a select as a second where we work on a pull request, and if we would refresh it, now actually it's strange. Let's click on a complete, and when you try to complete it, it is failing because there is a requirement to have at least one person to be approving this pull request. Let's enable, no, let's not enable the content resolution first. So instead, let's go to the repository and let's approve this pull request. So all of the pull requests are available under this blade, and you can go to the active to see all of the currently open and active pull requests. And over here, as a different person, I can approve this pull request, and the button once again changes to complete. And to complete the pull request, it can be done by anyone. But at the same time, let's put a comment. Some important comment. So now the person who opened this pull request actually needs to work on it, but because we don't have the policy implemented, it is still possible to complete this pull request. Let's fix this misunderstanding of the policy, and let's go to the policy showcase and to policies and to the default branch of it, and let's click that we actually want all of the comments to be resolved. And now if we would go back to this one, we can see that the button once again is changed to complete. But if we refresh it, it's actually not possible because this comment is active. So if you try to complete this pull request, it's not possible because comments must be resolved. Let's mark it as resolved because we worked really hard for those comments, and everything is good. And finally, it is possible to complete the merge. And when we do that, the merge would go ahead, and the main branch would be updated. Why we did it? And now on main branch, we have all of the changes that we wanted. So that is what I highly recommend you to implement on all of your branches and on all of your default branches for all of your repositories. And as I was saying, it is possible to work on those policies and set the default policy for the branch through this setting. So instead of going to a specific repository, we can go to policies, and underneath here for branch policies, we can say that it would be for the default policy of each repository, and pretty much said the same thing, that there would be a minimum number of reviewers, and that I would suggest to be able to approve your own pull requests if you haven't pushed the list. So if someone else is working on your pull request on top of, say, at the same time with you, and that all of the comments need to be resolved. With a build validation, once again, you can run some uh, build pipeline to test that it is good. And basically, if the build is not green, then you wouldn't be able to merge that into your default branch. Okay, so I think that makes sense. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. But what I wanted to do on top of that is to quickly show that it is actually possible to do the same thing or really similar thing in GitHub. For that demo, I'm going to use the Learn Kubernetes repository that I used for my other video, and I'm not going to go into the details and complete demo. But pretty much, if you go to the settings, you can go to the rules part of it, and under the new rule sets, you can create a new rule set for the branch, and here you can just call it however you want. But the important bit, what you want to do, is to scroll down to the branch rules, and pretty much you want to have some of those requirements set. So first of all, what you want to have is to restrict those creations, updates, and so on. Uh, And mostly what you really need to have is to have pull requests before merging to be enabled. And the same as before, you can say that there is one person needs to approve your pull request before you can merge it. And on top of that, to require the conversation resolution before merging. So if there are comments actively going on, you can enforce that all of those comments and conversations are actually resolved. And additionally, as before, it would be good to check the status to pass, but you would run the pipeline GitHub action and verify that everything is good and your status of the build is green. All right, that would be pretty much it. Thank you for watching. I hope it is helpful, and I once again highly recommend to implement those policies for your default branches. That's something like a no-brainer that I really want to see in every organization. So good luck implementing it. And please like and subscribe to this video. See you soon.